Next question to Dr. Bentley. When prospective industry are offered tax incentives to relocate to various states, are you concerned that such recruitment may be at the expense of existing corporate citizens? If so, how might you encourage growth in the state of Alabama without choosing favorites?
I do think that sometimes we entice companies to come into Alabama and we forget the companies that have been here all these years. What we need to do in Alabama is to create an environment so that we can entice companies to come in without hurting the companies that are already here. Number one, we need to keep Alabama a right-to-work state. That is the number one reason that we've recruited industry into Alabama over the last 15 years, being a right-to-work state. Number two, we need to have well-trained workers, and we do that through the two-year systems, and we need to improve the high schools so that we can continue to have well-trained workers. Number three, we need to keep the cost of energy low. That's why we need to oppose this American Clean Energy and Security Act, part of which is called cap and trade. We need to keep the cost of doing business low by keeping down not malpractice, but tort reform as far as lawsuits are concerned. We also need to keep taxes low on businesses. Now, having said that, that creates an environment so that we can entice companies into Alabama. But we should never forget the companies that have been here forever. We should always give them the same tax breaks, the same tax incentives that we do these companies. Mercedes cost us $187,000 per job. Now, it's been well worth it because we have recruited many, many companies into this state related to Mercedes. So it's well worth it. However, there was this company down in Linden that went under because they could not get the same tax breaks that Mercedes got. So we need to make sure that the companies that are here. And the other thing I'd like to do is we need to expand small business. I want to create under my office an Office of Small Business Development to teach people how to open small businesses, cut red tape, and teach them how to maintain the businesses that they begin to operate. Thank you.
As head of the Department of Economic and Community Affairs, I was involved in almost every industry recruitment initiative, in a small way, not a big way, mostly doing water and sewer type grants, so I'm very familiar with this. There is a strategic manner that you go about recruiting businesses. Mercedes is a great example. Honda is a great example. Hyundai is another great example. By locating each of those industries here, each one of those industries were known worldwide for their quality products. They were internationally recognized name brands, and when they invested $1 billion+ in Alabama, that sent a signal. In Mercedes' case, it sent a signal back to the Europeans that Alabama was a great place to do business. When Honda located here, it sent a signal to the Japanese. When Hyundai, it sent a signal to the Koreans. So all those things from a strategic perspective helped us. Now, having said that, I want to recognize that most of the business and industry done in Alabama is done with existing industries, right? And a lot of times they feel neglected. I want to let you know that in the tenure of my agency, the investments that I made with your tax dollars were equally given either to existing industries or the new industries, and it was based on the number of jobs they were creating. Now, the program that I have to help our existing industry, which I think is the quickest way to get us out of this economically challenging times, is a program I call Alabama to Go, and that is to help grow the exports of our existing industries by tapping into these thousands of international workers that we now have working here in Alabama. Business is about relationships. Each one of these tens of thousands of international workers and citizens here in Alabama have pre-existing relationships with folks back in their home countries. I want to build a system where they can capitalize on those relationships by working with our existing industries to grow those exports to countries all over the world. Thank you.
I've spent 25 years building companies here in Alabama, creating jobs, making payrolls. I guess I'm the businessman in the race. I know something about creating jobs and taking risks. Government doesn't create jobs. Entrepreneurs, business people, they risk capital. What government needs to do is get out of the way and let that entrepreneurial spirit flourish inside of us by keeping taxes low. We've been very aggressive in recent years in incentivizing these global companies. You're not going to see the numbers of deals in the pipeline. 75% of all the jobs in Alabama are small business jobs. We made this decision to go down this road years ago. I believe if you own a plant in an existing company here in St. Clair County or in Jefferson County or DeKalb County, and you want to expand, you want to spend capital, you ought to be able to get the same benefits on a linear basis that we give ThyssenKrupp, Hyundai, and all the rest of them. I want to go back and take this one from an education point of view. We have a 40% dropout rate in Alabama. Reducing the dropout rate is economic development over the long haul. If a child can read when they leave the third grade at that grade level, they tend to make it. They graduate and they go on and they become productive citizens. If a child cannot read when they leave the third grade at that level, that trajectory is lower, they fall behind, they become a statistic. We have to hone in on reading and teach every single child to read and bring them up to par in those foundation years. You fix the dropout rate by teaching little ones to read in the early years. That will do more to move this state forward than anything else that we could do. If you see fit to elect me governor, and when I leave, we've reduced the dropout rate by 20% or cut it in half, we will become the envy of the free world, and that's how you do it.